In 1954, the Australian vessel Rachel Cohen entered dry dock. Lodged deep within its keel, 17 gigantic teeth were found. They belonged to a predator science had long declared extinct 3 million years ago. Marine biology sets rigid rules for what can or cannot thrive in today's oceans. The Ododos Megalodon defies every single one of them. A pelagic leviathan that reached 18 meters in length and weighed over 60 tons. Its bite force exceeded crushing 180,000 newtons, enough to pulverize an adult whale's skull as if it were a fragile nutshell. Fossil records tell us this monster's reign ended in the Pliocene epoch. Global cooling and falling sea levels would have decimated its prey. Without food in the coastal waters, the king of the oceans would have starved. This is the official version, the comforting academic consensus that reassures sailors, oceanographers, and all of us who swim on the surface. But the ocean is a dark, deep vault. We have precisely mapped less than 25% of the global seafloor. The bathopelagic zone, plunged into perpetual darkness, harbors secrets we've only just begun to scratch. For decades, isolated reports from fishermen, inexplicable sonar readings, and colossal marks on the carcasses of large cetaceans have haunted the scientific community. The fossil evidence is undeniable. Teeth the size of a human hand are routinely dredged from the Pacific floor. But there's something unsettling about some of these recent discoveries. Something in the coloration, the enamel's preservation, and the sedimentation rates that refuses to align with the ancient extinction narrative. The abyss holds its own truths, and some of them have sharp teeth. Abyssal Plume. Today, we dive 4,000 meters to investigate the Megalodon and the unsettling mystery of its possible survival in the darkest, most unexplored zones of our ocean. The submersible descends, 1,000 meters, 2,000. Sunlight vanishes completely, swallowed by perpetual darkness. At 3,000 meters, the water temperature plummets to a frigid 2 degrees Celsius. At 4,000 meters, the pressure reaches a crushing 400 atmospheres. That's the equivalent of having a car stacked on every square centimeter of the titanium hull. The silence outside is absolute. In this hostile realm, life obeys alien rules. In the Mariana Trench in the Western Pacific, the abyss stretches an astonishing 11,000 meters deep. For a long time, we believed large, warm-blooded predators couldn't thrive here. The scarcity of biomass and extreme cold seemed insurmountable barriers. But the deep ocean is a master at defying scientific paradigms. The Greenland shark is living proof of this extreme adaptation. This cold water predator can live over 400 years in abyssal depths. Its incredibly slow metabolism is the key to survival in the dark. If a primitive 7-meter shark can prosper in the freezing waters of the deep Arctic, the biological limits of marine life begin to unravel before our very eyes. The Megalodon survival theory suggests a drastic vertical migration. To escape climate extinction in the Pliocene epoch, some individuals would have abandoned the shallow coastal waters. They would have plunged into the bathopelagic and abyssopelagic zones, an environment where temperature remains constant and the surface's catastrophic climate shifts simply don't penetrate. But how to sustain a 60-ton body in the darkness? The answer may lie with giant squid and sperm whales. Titanic battles unfold daily at 3,000 meters deep. The sperm whale dives into the blind darkness to hunt colossal squid. But what if the sperm whale isn't the apex predator of this hidden ecosystem? Recent expeditions have mapped oceanic trenches with remotely operated vehicles. Sonars sweep the benthic void in search of geological anomalies, and occasionally the acoustic beam returns with massive signatures. Biological forms, vast and slow, drifting with the deep currents. The size of these echoes defy any known identification. They aren't schools of fish. They aren't whales. They are isolated, dense, immense signatures. The abyss hides giants that sunlight hasn't touched for millions of years. In 2003, Australian scientists conducted a routine experiment that would end in a nightmare. They tagged a 3-meter female great white shark with a temperature and depth tracker. The goal was to map migratory routes along the continental shelf, but 4 months later, the tag was found washed up on a deserted beach. The data recovered from the device told a story of pure terror. The graph showed a sudden, violent dive. The great white shark was dragged to 600 meters deep in a matter of minutes. Immediately after the dizzying plunge, the temperature recorded by the sensor skyrocketed. It went from the frigid 9 degrees of the surrounding water to an intense 25 degrees Celsius. The tag was inside the stomach of something colossal, something that possessed a body temperature high enough to warm the sensor, yet dove into the dark, twilight zones. What swallows a 3-meter apex predator whole? Science tried to suggest a gigantic, cannibalistic great white shark, but the thermal proportions and the brutal speed of the attack left researchers deeply uneasy. The silence in academic corridors was deafening. Years later, in the Sea of Cortez, marine biologists found whale carcasses floating adrift. Half of their immense forms had been cleanly severed with a single bite. The marks on their flanks were disproportionate and terrifying. Perfect arcs of teeth measuring almost 2 meters in diameter. No known great white shark, not even the largest 6-meter specimens, could leave a scar with that monstrous radius. And then there are the audio recordings. Military hydrophones scattered across the Pacific floor capture the voices of the deep ocean 24 hours a day. In 2014, the microphones registered a low-intensity frequency, a rhythmic, deep sound pulsing through the dense water like a mechanical heart. The sound echoed for hundreds of kilometers in the deep convergence zone. The acoustic profile indicated water displacement from an animal over 20 meters long. It wasn't a whale song. It was the sound of a massive tail sweeping the abyssal darkness in a hunting rhythm. Researchers know these anomalies exist. They've measured the impossible temperatures, photographed the colossal bites, captured the sounds that make the ocean floor tremble. But they cannot explain how a prehistoric giant could have escaped human radar for so long. The skeptical question echoes in every oceanographic expedition. If the Megalodon still lives, where are the recent bodies? The shark's anatomy is the perfect answer to its disappearance. Unlike whales, sharks don't have massive bones. Their skeletons are entirely made of flexible cartilage. When they die, they don't leave lasting carcasses to float on the surface or fossilize quickly in the sediment. The immense body sinks into the abyssal trenches like a stone. Within days, the relentless deep-sea scavengers consume the flesh. The crushing pressure and water chemistry dissolve the cartilage. All that remains are the teeth. And it is precisely in the teeth that the greatest and darkest mystery of all resides. During the historic expedition of the oceanographic vessel HMS Challenger, heavy dredges scraped the Pacific floor. They brought to the surface pristine Megalodon teeth, but something was terribly wrong with the dating of these artifacts.
On the seafloor, dark minerals like manganese dioxide accumulate on fallen objects at an incredibly slow rate, about 2 millimeters every 1 million years. Some of the teeth recovered by the dredge possessed a layer of manganese so thin, so incredibly thin, that the math became unsettling. Radiometric calculations indicated that those teeth had fallen to the ocean floor only 10,000 years ago. 10,000 years is not geological time, it's yesterday. It's the era in which humanity was already building its first civilizations on the Earth's surface. How does modern science ignore such glaring evidence? It's easier to classify it as a rare sedimentation anomaly than to rewrite all of marine biology. But the deep ocean doesn't care about our textbooks. It is ancient, immense, and utterly indifferent to our academic certainties. If a 60-ton creature learned to hunt in perpetual darkness, using electromagnetic sensors to track whales in the oceanic trenches, we would be the last to know. Our terrestrial arrogance makes us believe we dominate the planet, that we know every corner of the globe. But the truth is, we merely float on the thin, illuminated surface of a vast alien world. The deep ocean is a gigantic vault that harbors life forms defying our imagination and our most primitive fears. Perhaps the Otodus Megalodon never truly vanished. Perhaps it merely descended into the evolutionary depths, abandoning sunlight for a realm of absolute darkness and crushing pressure, a silent, brutal, and necessary adaptation for the survival of Earth's largest carnivore. And the most unsettling part of all this, the colossal marks on whales, the swallowed tags, and the inexplicable acoustic signals were recorded only at 3,000 meters deep. The Mariana Trench continues for another 8,000 meters below that, a black abyss, unfathomable, and perfectly capable of hiding an entire population of the greatest predator the seas have ever known. What else is lurking in those frigid waters, just waiting for our submersibles to turn off their lights? The seafloor holds not only the ghosts of ancient biology, but also of our own human history. Colossal steel structures slowly being devoured by darkness and pressure. In our next episode, we will investigate the Titanic today. What is happening to the wreckage at 3,800 meters? Prepare to descend into the ocean's most famous and solitary tomb.